Here's what some people are saying about the Projection Booth podcast.
The Projection Booth is single-handedly the greatest film podcast you could ever listen to or could possibly want.
Top notch. 5 stars. This has quickly become one of my favorite film-related podcasts. Always interesting.
A completely unpretentious yet fully comprehensive look at films from all genres.
The Projection Booth podcast, with new episodes available every week at projectionboothpodcast.com.
You are listening to the In the Mouth of Dorkness podcast. Here are Brad, Lisa, Brian, and Darren.
Welcome to another edition of the ITMOD podcast. With me is Brian Young, the Turtle Dork.
Happy Friday, folks.
And also joining us is Lisa Gullickson, wife Dork.
Octopi is also an acceptable choice and one in wide use, but you run the risk of being informed that it is incorrect. So at Chris Chaka, if you listen to the Old Boy episode, you can technically say octopi, but people like me, pedants, will correct you.
Still going with octopussies.
And that would be Brad Gullickson, mouth Dork.
Shoot them again! Their souls still dancing.
Yep. And I'm your host, Darren Smith, the Disco Dork, and welcome to the ITMOD podcast, Fistful Friday.
Woo-hoo!
TGIFF, MFers. This Friday, in honor of the release of Nacho Vilagondo's Colossal, which stars Anne Hathaway and Jason Sudeikis, we have a Fistful of Barflys.
Yay!
A little explanation into that because the movie is just newly released, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people who aren't as privileged as us to have seen it twice, in my case.
Humble brag.
Yeah. So in the film, Anne Hathaway stars as a young lady who has not necessarily gotten her life back together, and she dips into the bottle and she frequents bars and she drinks and she's drunk and she blacks out. So we thought in honor of that, we'd have our top 5 barfly / alcoholic / drunks
/ sad sacks.
/ sad sacks. All right.
And you know what? If you are in one of the few cities right now that's playing Colossal, get your ass to that theater.
Yeah.
Because Colossal is without a doubt one of my favorite movies of this year, of last year. It is an incredibly unique genre experience worth your time.
It's a special film that deserves to be seen on the big screen, and that rhymed.
And it will be coming to more cities on the 20th of April.
Mm-hmm.
So be sure to check your film clubs.
Yes. Brian, you're number 5, sad sack, alcoholic, drunken, barfly.
Well, that pretty much defines my pick. This guy is such a sad sack, a drunk, probably a miserable, the worst person in the world, and so much so that it's hard for me to even watch this film.
Damn.
And it gives such a great performance as this character. That would be Denzel Washington in Flight.
Oh,
Yeah.
no.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Ooh.
You started heavy.
Yeah.
God, I mean, I can't even really watch that film.
He was going for that Nicolas Cage leaving Las Vegas Oscar.
Oh, yeah. It's just, I mean, and he does a great job of playing this character. And I have to say, even with that beginning, that first 20 minutes, that flight and landing that plane is so tense. That's incredible filmmaking and acting in that scene.
You know what my favorite shot from that movie is?
What's that?
In the opening scene where he's with the lady and he's doing blow off of her.
Oh.
And there's a shot.
Yeah.
It's like a Sam Raimi Ramacam
Oh,
point of
yeah,
view
yeah.
shot of him snorting that line of cocaine.
Yeah.
Whew.
And it's just, I mean, just seeing him throughout that whole film, I mean, it's just, I mean, you just see him getting drunk just throughout the whole movie. And then the ending, when you think that he's back, you know, and then he's in that hotel room and then the door to the other room opens and you see that refrigerator full of alcohol, and then John Goodman and them come the next morning when he has to give like his deposition or something, and he's just out of it. And then, no, not John Goodman. John Goodman's the guy who comes and gives him the coke. Yeah. Oh, he's just such a miserable, sad person to watch. It's really hard for me to even watch that film.
It's an incredibly strong performance, and I think Robert Zemeckis is having a lot of fun with the camera in that movie. But ultimately, it's not an incredibly
memorable film.
Memorable movie.
And to me, it's not even a satisfying ending for that character.
It's not a satisfying story. It's just you're right. Like that ending doesn't feel like it fits.
No.
I was waiting for something more. That being said, this dude belongs on your list.
Yeah, and Denzel Washington is absolutely remarkable in the film. I mean, I guess that's an attribute to him, just the fact of how I feel about that character. But yeah, I think he definitely belongs somewhere on this list.
All right, Lisa, you're number 5. Who's your sad sack drunkard?
So when you're talking bar scenes, I automatically go to Edgar Wright and the Cornetto trilogy, of course. And I could easily talk about the Winchester in Shaun of the Dead.
That might be coming up later.
Or any places, or any of the bars in the World's End. But I'm going to go my barflies being the tweens at the bar in the pub in Sanford in Hot Fuzz.
Yeah, that's a good pick. I thought you were going to go with The World's End, but no, that's a perfect...
Because whenever you go to a bar, there are always some borderline people you go like, this child should not be here. And even with the drinking age being 18, these kids are clearly middle schoolers. It's like the cast of Degrassi, except for Pimplier, because they're British. It's like Hogwarts is enjoying a couple of butterbeers here at the Stanford pub. And Sergeant Nick Angel, not having it.
Nope.
He kicks those kids out.
That movie does not get enough cred. I feel like
Hot Fuzz?
Yeah. Shaun of the Dead obviously gets all the love when we're talking Edgar Wright, as it should. But Simon Pegg in Hot Fuzz in particular, he's a tough character to fall in love with, but you do through his prickish, by the book nature. You know, so often those characters break and discover, you know, the fun of rule bending or whatever. But that guy, he bends the town to his will.
Well, and it's also like you get to see him through the eyes of Police Constable Danny Butterman, played by Nick Frost, and the way Nick Frost plays that character and just loving and admiring Nick so much and wanting to be seeing the merit of being like that and being a real cop.
And Nick does fall prey to the will of Michael Bay because of Nick Frost's character.
He sees himself as fucking cool.
Yeah.
And he should.
Yeah. Jumping through the air, 2 guns blazing. John Woo style.
Yeah. All right, Brad, you're number 5.
My number 5, when we were talking about barflies, this is the guy that popped immediately into my head. And that is Murray Futterman from Joe Dante's Gremlins, as played by Dick Miller. He's this sad old town kook. He's the guy who came back from the war, obviously broken by the horrors that he saw in Europe, and he's disturbed. He's talking about how his planes used to be crawling with gremlins, and they would tear his machines apart, and he's warning the town that these things could come back. And when they do, he is both redeemed and butchered, killed. He dies in Gremlins. They run him over with his own tractor. It's horrible and hilarious. And Dick Miller is so good in that role. And I do not care at all that in Joe Dante's Gremlins 2, he's resurrected. And it's no big deal. I guess that tractor just gave him some tire marks on his face or something. And he's back, and he's finally gotten rid of the sauce, and he's much more... he's still a little crazy, but he's no longer the sad individual that he was in the first film. But I think that's like a little piece of reality, of the greatest generation that Joe Dante was able to put into the original Gremlins that has some true bite to it.
Yeah.
And again, Dick Miller in that movie is just so wonderful.
Yeah. All right. Good pick. My number 5, not only is it in honor of Colossal, the new release, it is also in honor of our ITMOD Film Club, Old Boy, and it is Odaisu.
Yeah.
And the opening of that film, we meet Odasu in a drunken and sad state. And the reason why he's on my list is not only because he is drunk. It speaks to that, when you're inebriated, how unaware you are of your safety and surroundings, your actions, first of all. Because in that scene in the police station, he is just being a total asshole and buffoon and making a complete ass of himself, and he's being embarrassing. And that's someone's father and husband, and he has total disregard for any self-image and self-worth. And then because he is in a drunken state, he is not able to keep his bearings and look out for his own safety and well-being, which ultimately leads him to getting kidnapped. Now, it's not to say that if he was sober, if Lee Woo-jin would not have been able to subdue Odasu or whatever, but it doesn't help his predicament that he was inebriated and he was drunken. And the way that Odasu seemed in that police station does not look like that was his first time hitting the bottle. He seemed to be... That seemed like that was something that he would do, a regular occurrence for him.
He's a pro.
Yeah, and so I would have to imagine that at some bar or bars in that district where he lived in Korea, he was a regular barfly. And if you haven't checked it out already, go back and listen to our ITMOD Film Club review of Old Boy. A really good discussion about a really great film surrounding a really great character in Odasu. And so that's why he's my number 5. Brian, you're number 4.
Okay, so I'm kind of starting with very deplorable people, and I'm gonna get to some of the fun ones as I get to my.
You got fun drunks,
fun
drugs.
We do.
I'm number 1 in your list.
Possibly. Have you been in a film before?
Yeah. Tito Bain was certainly a barfly.
But and this is the one I was actually struggling with. Brad probably knows because I was putting my list together before we started recording, and I believe she was in this film. And this is Charlize Theron in Young Adult.
Oh yeah.
Oh God.
Okay, she was. I mean, I knew she was kind of mentally off, but I couldn't remember if she was a drunk. But I believe because it's been a while since I saw that film. But just like with Denzel Washington. Again, great performance. I actually really like this movie. I like Jason Reitman a lot. I love Up in the Air. Of course, Juno. He does a lot of great work. But Young Adult is a film that it's just icky for me to watch it. It's just I feel for Charlize Theron's character.
Oh, man. That scene where she offers herself to Patton Oswalt.
Oh. Yeah,
it's so
glorious.
Awful.
How is that awful? If she offered herself to me, I would say yes.
Not like that.
Not like that.
That was bad.
Not like that.
Not like this.
And also that one scene outside of Patrick Wilson's house. That was the most embarrassing.
Brutal movie.
Yeah.
Do I even want to watch this movie? It's
gonna
make me look.
You've never seen Young Adult?
I don't want to see her in a different light.
I'm gonna go run and grab it. So I've got the Blu-ray right over there.
That would be a great homework for him.
No,
I didn't know you haven't seen that. That would be a good
that's
homework.
a good homework. Write that down,
I'm writing
somebody.
it down.
Yeah.
Don't write it.
but Charlize Theron, it just shows just the versatility and the range that she has in an actress. Because just like I said with Denzel, I mean, she's such a good performance that it's just it's just hard.
I can't see my baby like that. I can't.
I know. I mean, going from if you've never seen it,
This is why it's the perfect homework for Darren.
Yeah.
So many
That's
other things I
happening.
haven't seen.
That's happening.
Brad, don't do that. To
Yeah.
me.
No. But you'll also come away.
Watching Fury Road, I'm gonna watch Fury Road. I'm gonna cleanse it.
Of course. But I mean, Charlize Theron is amazing in this movie.
Yeah, she is.
She is so good. She's scraping the bottom of the barrel.
Trying to relive.
But you compare her performance here to Monster, where she's playing a monster.
Yeah.
This is the film that I wish she had received the Academy Award for. Of course, Fury Road as well. Darren. She should have gotten that too. But I mean, young adult, this is career-defining work.
Yeah, yeah, it is. So,
All right.
Yeah, that's my number 4.
And our boy Patton is also phenomenal.
He's really good in it too. Yeah, really good.
All right, I won't check it out. Lisa, you're number 4.
My number 4 refers to the person at the bar, the competitive drunk. The guy who wants to take as many shots as he can and drink you under the table.
Me, yeah.
And so that's why I'm going to say, I don't know if he has a name, but the dude from Nepal that tries to drink Marion Ravenwood under the table in Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah.
In his drunken state, he way underestimates how much this tiny woman can put away.
Now, Marion Ravenwood, she's a professional barfly.
No shit. I was trying to, when I was putting together this list, and I'm trying to think of because I think there are people who get drunk at home, and I don't want to include them in my barfly list. Like Brad would not make it onto my list. But so I was trying to think of people can somebody who works at a bar technically be a barfly?
Sure.
I don't think so.
I think Jason Sudeikis and Anne Hathaway in Colossal are both barflies.
Oh, see, I'm the dork who has not seen Colossal because I missed that day. I missed that day of Lost Weekend.
Well, Lisa, if you're one of the lucky people that it gets to your theater this weekend, you should check it out.
You know what? You can suck it.
Almo's showing it.
Yeah, they are.
Not this weekend.
Not this weekend, though.
No?
Later.
Next week. Yeah, the 20th.
All right. Okay. All right. That's weird. Okay. It's a neon film, right?
You're correct.
All right.
I don't understand.
All right. Brad, you're number 4. What? Really?
Yeah, that's
What?
true. My number 4 is Terrence McDonough as played by Nicolas Cage in The Bad Lieutenant, Port of Call, New Orleans, a film by Werner Herzog.
Yeah.
I'm out of breath. Yeah, he's definitely a drunk. He's more of a cocaine dude. But what happens is after Hurricane Katrina obliterates New Orleans, he's freeing. He's making sure that a jail cell has been freed of prisoners, and he discovers that one of these men is still locked away, and he jumps down to a flooded hallway where the prisoner is going to drown as the water rises. And he jumps down, he rescues the guy. In doing so, he severely damages his back, and he is prescribed Vicodin, and he becomes addicted to painkillers, and those painkillers lead to alcohol and drugs and all kinds of horrible atrocities.
Yes.
And he really embraces his evil alter ego. And he's certainly a character who cannot blame the drugs, even if he desperately wants to. He is a scuzzball, a beast, a true terror on society. And Werner Herzog and Nicolas Cage delight in displaying his exploits, whether they be coercing women into having sex with them so he doesn't give them tickets, or stealing exhibits Lucky Crack Pipe, or having full-on conversations with invisible iguanas.
Yep.
Things are not going well. I mentioned Leaving Las Vegas earlier, but the lowest of the low Nicolas Cage characters is Terrence, the Bad Lieutenant, from this movie, and I think it outshines Abel Ferrara's original Bad Lieutenant film with Harvey Keitel.
Yeah.
If we're talking, matching depravity for depravity,
And just entertainment value.
it is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
In a terrible way.
Yep.
Kind of like Scorsese's The Wolf of Wall Street
Yep.
in some ways. But when it gets sick, it gets really sick.
Yeah. All right, good pick. My number 4. So this barfly, I don't think all barflies necessarily have to be drunks. You have functioning alcoholics sometimes, but then you have those people who just go to bars on a regular basis. They frequent bars just to go hang out and get a drink and shoot the shit, go watch some dancers or whatever. And so the number 4 on my list, I would say falls into that category. And it's Tom Savini as Sex Machine, patron of the Titty Twister and From Dusk Till Dawn.
There's a lot of interesting barflies in that
There
movie.
are a lot of entry. I could have gone with Fred Williamson. I could have gone with like the bartender, as played by Danny Trejo. But I'm going to go with Tom Savini because I feel like, he's a patron of this bar, but I feel like any bar, if he's there and it gets rowdy in there and there are other barflies that get out of hand, and as it happens sometimes and their fights break out, like Sex Machine is prepared because he has a cock pistol, and that's dope. But yeah, Tom Savini's all kinds of cool in that film. That film, up until that point where they get to the titty twister, is very unassuming in what it truly is as far as the genre film. But then we get to that wonderful set piece, that actual practical set piece of the titty twister. And as you mentioned, Brad, we meet a lot of interesting characters, and it sets up the back half of that film and the big splatter fest that is about to become. And Tom Savini plays a pretty big role in the back end of that film.
In 1995, I begged my dad to take me to this movie, and we had seen Pulp Fiction, and my dad had hated Pulp Fiction, gratuitous violence. And, we're watching From Dusk Till Dawn, and he's certainly not enjoying the movie,
right.
As they kidnap this poor bank teller and this family. Things are not going to go well for anybody involved. When they get to the titty twister, and after Cheech Marin does this tirade on all the various types of pussies you're going to encounter beyond the doorway, and you meet Sex Machine and you meet Fred Williamson, and then Salma Hayek comes out, does her dance, turns into a bat lady, and heads start getting ripped off and body parts go flying across the room and black blood is just squirting all over the place. My dad leans over to me and goes, "Did you know this was going to turn into a vampire movie?" And I just looked up at him and I smiled.
Yeah.
He was not happy. He was not happy.
Well, I was.
As was I.
I love that film. And I love Tom Savini in it as Sex Machine. If I'm going to be in a bar that goes tits up, with vampire activity, I want to have that guy very cool and chill with his cock pistol out, evening the odds.
And that cock pistol makes an appearance in Desperado.
Yep. Yes, it does.
Salma Hayek pulls it out of his guitar case at one point.
Yes, she does. And so that's my number 4. Brian, your number 3.
So my number 3 is that we're getting more into our fun drunks. This one I really, really enjoyed, and it seems like alcohol is kind of like his spinach for Popeye, or at least it seems that way.
Yes.
And I love this performance. It's Brad Pitt in Snatch.
Yeah, One Punch Mickey.
Yeah. So again, I think this is probably one of my favorite Brad Pitt performances. Probably that and Seven I really enjoyed too. But this was just seeing him in this and doing like that dialect and that the way he talked, just something different from what we've seen Brad Pitt do before, especially at that time when this movie came out in 2000. I mean, he was like Brad Pitt, like sexiest man alive, and for him to do a character like this, I thought was really, really intriguing and so much fun to watch. And especially when you see him get drunk at the end, but you see that it's all kind of a ruse and a plan when he goes into that final boxing match. It's just so much fun to watch, and just the way Guy Ritchie directs not just the actors but that actual film. It's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
I love that movie. That's one of my top 5, I think. It's in my top 5.
I have not watched that film in such a long time.
Really?
Same.
Snatch?
Same. I'm due for a rewatch.
Same.
I'm due for a rewatch. Lisa, your number 3.
My number 3. So another frequent character you'll see at the bar is the friendly drunk. You get a couple of drinks in them and suddenly they're everybody's friend.
Yeah.
And so that's why I'm going with the Charlie Chaplin film City Lights and his friend the millionaire
Oh yeah,
Harry Myers.
Yeah.
That's a great pick.
So Charlie Chaplin is playing his classic tramp character, and he meets this millionaire who is drunk, and he's sad. The drunk millionaire, he's like sad and he's going to commit suicide. So Charlie Chaplin rescues him, and they have like a night on the town together, and they get drunk together, and he's crying and sharing his stories with Charlie Chaplin, and then Charlie Chaplin falls asleep in his house, and when they wake up, the millionaire has completely forgotten who Charlie Chaplin is and is like, get the fuck out of my mansion, you weirdo with your pants too big. So he kicks Charlie Chaplin out. So he kicks Charlie Chaplin out. But then later in the film, and Charlie Chaplin, he's in love with this flower girl. And so he convinces this flower girl that he has like this millionaire friend. And of course the millionaire friend does not remember him until the next time he gets drunk, and he's like, "Hey, good to see you." Back when drunks were fun, Brian. Back in the old movies when being an alcoholic was charming.
Oh yeah.
All hiccups.
Yeah, all hiccups and stumbles. So sweet.
All right, Brad, you're number 3.
My number 3 has to be the patrons from The Slaughtered Lamb in John Landis's An American Werewolf in London. 2 American backpackers played by David Naughton and Griffin Dunne are traipsing across the moors, and they stumble into this bar just to get off the road. They've literally been dropped off in a truck carrying a herd of sheep. So and they go straight to the slaughtered lamb. So things are not going to work out too well for these kids. And while they're there, awkwardly looking for something to eat and settling for beer, they act like ugly Americans, and they offend the true Brits that patron this classical place. And one of the pub members, Brian Glover, he's the chess player, he's credited as, his sort of form of revenge, or his way of sticking, his middle finger up at these 2 kids, is to tell this joke, that mocks Americans or Texans, and from his point of view, all Americans are Texans, right? He's seen the cowboy pictures, and he says, and I'm going to do the whole bit here, all right? So prepare to be entertained, Brian and Lisa.
Okay.
All right, listeners.
There was this aeroplane over the Atlantic on its way to New York, and it was full of men from the United Nations. So halfway over the ocean, the engines run low on petrol. So they have to lighten the plane. So they heave out all the baggage, but it's still too heavy. So they chuck out all the seats, but it's still too heavy. Finally, this frog, he steps up, shouts, "Vive la France," and leaps out. Then an Englishman, he steps out, shouts, "God save the Queen," and he leaps out. But the plane is still too heavy. So the Yank delegate from Texas, he steps up, shouts, "Remember the Alamo," and chucks out the Mexican. Race humor. And it's this... And all the British pub members are laughing, and Griffin Dunne, he joins in on the laughter to try to be one of them, and he asks, "What's the deal with the pentagram on the wall?" And it just shuts the place up, because that pentagram is there for a purpose. The moors are haunted by werewolves, and you don't want to stray off the road, because you're going to get munched. Beware the moon, David.
Yes.
Beware the moon.
Yes.
So those are my number 3 favorite barflies.
All
the
right.
chess player in particular, Brian Glover.
My number 3 favorite barfly comes from my favorite Christopher Nolan film, and that is Memento. I don't know this barfly's name, but there's a scene in the film when Leonard, who is suffering from short-term memory loss, he is trying to track down the killer of his wife. Someone has broken into his home while they were asleep. The wife went to go use the bathroom, and while she was in the bathroom, she was accosted and hit on the head. Leonard wakes up in the middle of the night to go see what was going on. He gets hit in the head. He wakes up. She's dead, and he has short-term memory loss. So in his quest to track the killer down, he is led to this bar, and the bartender there is Carrie Ann Moss. And Carrie Ann Moss, in a test to see if it is true that Leonard cannot create short-term memories, asks him what he would like to drink. She offers him a pint. He agrees. She has Leonard spit in the pint, and she passes the pint to a gentleman at the end of the bar. The gentleman spits in the pint. She swirls it up. She waits a moment, and she gives it to Leonard. And the gentleman watches her give this pint with his spit in it to Leonard, to which Leonard drinks. It is a really crazy scene, but it's wonderful because it just speaks to the affliction that Leonard suffers, and it sets in motion Carrie Ann Moss's character and how she could potentially use Leonard to find out what happened to her boyfriend Dodd. And just that gentleman watching this happen, being a willing participant to spit in this bar bet, to spit in this pint glass for a bar bet. I just always found that comical because he just willingly does it. He doesn't say why or who's this for or hey, that's messed up. I'm not going to do that to this guy. He just spits in the pint and she stirs it up and Leonard drinks it. So yeah, that guy, he's the MVP for contributing to that bar bet that Leonard drinks.
So many people talk about the neo-noir, and Memento, I think, is truly the last film to take all the concepts of that subgenre and rework them in a totally unique way.
Yeah, great
film.
Absolutely. So yeah, that's my number 3. The gentleman who spit in Leonard's beer at the bar. Brian, you're number 2.
So my number 2, we're going back to some more fun drunks. This is from a comedy back 2003. That would be one Frank the Tank from Old School, Will Ferrell. He has a very infamous reputation from his past about when he gets drunk. He does very wild and crazy things. He's a family man now, so he's given up the drinking. But he gets suckered back into it from the young kids at the college campus, and he goes streaking in one of the famous scene, and he sees Snoop Dogg and what's the pimp's name? What's the pimp's name? He's to hang with Snoop.
Damn. No, that's from Black Dynamite. I was about to say Mo Bitches. Giddy up. Damn. With the he always has on the green. I know who you're talking about.
Well, he's like, yeah, I like your hat.
It's going to come to me later on, and I'm going to shout it out at some random moment.
But yeah, Will Ferrell is just so funny in that movie. That movie came out right at the height of his comedy and Vince Vaughn, and then you brought in Luke Wilson as the straight man, and that was a nice little comedy trio. And yeah, Frank the Tank.
Yeah, Don Bishop Magic Don Juan.
Yeah, there you go. So yeah, Will Ferrell, Frank the Tank.
All right, Lisa, you're number 2. That was your number 2, Brian?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm desperately looking for this character's name. Maybe you guys can help me.
Yep.
But there's always, whenever you're in a bar atmosphere, there's always someone trying to celebrate something. And so this particular character is trying to celebrate the birth of his child in a basement tavern. Do you know what film I'm talking about? Yes, I'm talking about Inglourious Bastards.
Yeah. Maximilian.
Is his name Maximilian?
Yeah, no, the kid's name's Maximilian.
Yeah, so what's the guy's name? Oh, I could not find it in time. But one of the best bar scenes ever, and such a great bar fight in Inglourious Bastards. And this poor guy, this poor German soldier, him and his group are drunkenly celebrating the birth of his first child. Meanwhile... yeah, you guys know what I'm talking about. Did you find his name?
No, not yet.
Oh, well. Well, so, this was this underground tavern was the agreed upon place to discuss the plans, for the upcoming, I guess, Nazi gathering and how they're going to infiltrate this Nazi gathering. But they cannot get to their underground talking because there's a noisy party going on at the other table. And this friendly German guy joins their table as part of the party. And then when Archie Hickok reveals himself as actually with the number 3 is actually not a German soldier, all hell breaks loose.
That's a great
There's
scene.
a lot of blood spilled and a shoe lost.
That's probably one of my favorite scenes from that movie.
Say
Yes.
goodbye to your Nazi balls.
Yeah.
That's good. That's a good pick.
Thank you.
All right, Brad, you're number 2.
But what's that guy's name? I feel like it's like Wilhelm. It's a fucking German name.
His kid's name's Maximilian.
Okay, that's
all.
Max's
let it go.
dad. Max's dad.
Max's dad. My number 2 could easily be my number 1, but that is Jack Torrance, as played by Jack Nicholson in Stanley Kubrick's The Shining.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the story of this writer's father who agrees to watch over the Overlook Hotel during its downtime while a blizzard takes over. And it's just him, his wife, and his kid. And the fuel of nightmares resides behind every doorway in this hotel. And it preys on Jack by dipping into his struggling alcoholism. And when the hotel speaks directly to Jack, it takes the form of the bartender Lloyd. And his conversations with Lloyd around the hotel bar are so utterly chilling and grotesque
Sorry.
because you sense the reality of this disease that is eating away at Jack. And when Nicholson goes full axe-wielding psycho, it's not nearly as horrifying to think about the torments he's already put his family through because of the bottle. In a lot of ways, in every way, the haunting of the Overlook is just the logical extension of the pain that he has already caused Danny and his wife.
Yeah.
It's a brilliantly executed performance, certainly, but also the way Kubrick embraces the imagery of the nightmares, the psychological nightmares that have always lurked in Jack long before he even got to the Overlook.
Yeah. All right. Good pick. All right. My number 3 is
2.
Oh, my number 2 is my favorite actor, which is Benicio del Toro, and his turn as Dr. Gonzo in Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. And specifically the scene where they are in the hotel bar and they are tripping balls. And so on top of the mescaline and the acid they're dropping and whatever pills and shit that they've been smoking, they go to have a drink. And while they're at the bar drinking, because they're tripping, they start to hallucinate. The floor patterns start to bleed into each other. People, the patrons of the hotel, casino, and bar start to turn into giant lizards. And the practical effects that were used for that scene were friggin' amazing. And that's a Terry Gilliam film. So Terry Gilliam's weirdness runs throughout that film. And just the way he shoots that, coupled with Johnny Depp and Benicio's bizarre performances, really over the top and bizarre, lend themselves to Terry Gilliam's weirdness and just his style. And that film is nuts. I mean, that's one of those movies that I like watching. That's a movie that, while I love it, I can't watch it all the time because it's funny and bizarre to me. But like, there's this, it's something in the pit of my stomach. It just feels wrong. Like, it feels like really off kilter to me. And then when they pick up, is that Christina Ricci as the young girl, and they have her in the room, and that movie is just nuts to me. And it doesn't help that not only the way that they're behaving and how they're acting and performing, but just the way that Terry Gilliam shoots that, the set design when they're just trashing that hotel room and it's filled with water. It's just so bizarre and otherworldly. But I'm fascinated by that film, and I'm fascinated by Benicio's performance as Dr. Gonzo. And I just love that I love that scene where they're in that hotel bar and they're just tripping balls. So yeah, he's got to be like my number 2.
You picked Dr. Gonzo instead of Hunter S. Thompson or Raoul Duke.
Yeah, he makes that quick cameo. He's drinking. Yeah, but Benicio's partying way more harder than Hunter S. Thompson. And granted, Hunter S. Thompson is probably infinitely more nuts and off of his ass than Benicio, Dr. Gonzo. But I'm biased because Benicio's my dude. It's my favorite actor. So, yeah. Hunter S. Thompson can get an honorable mention, a runner-up. the light blue badge for honorable mention, but it goes to Benicio. Brian, your number 1.
So my number 1, actually, when I talked about Brad Pitt, I said that was alcohol was like his spinach for Popeye. Actually, it's this character that I meant to say that for.
Sam Seed.
Sam Sneed.
Seed. Or his student.
Yeah, Drunken Master.
You ain't gonna pick Sam Seed? You actually see him in bars. But you haven't seen Beggar, so have you? You need to check that out.
Probably not. So yeah, Jackie Chan. Drunken Master.
That's when I thought of this list. If that doesn't come up, then we've all failed as dorks.
It was on mine.
Oh, okay.
I was going to go with Sam Seed.
Oh, okay. He was in the first one, right?
He's the teacher.
Yeah. That's what I thought. Yeah. So I mean, that's. I don't know. That's a good because it shows being drunk as a good thing. So I don't know if this is actually a good film for kids to watch. Like, hey, drink some Hennessy and then you'll be able to fight.
He's not drinking Hennessy.
No. But I love Jackie Chan in both films, the first and the second one, and just seeing him become, to get drunk and then the way he fights, it's he's definitely the alcoholic that I would want to be.
Wow. All right, Brian. Because in real life, you were not that. Those times we went out.
No.
Lisa.
Yeah.
Lisa.
Yeah.
Don't tell them. But I've never seen the Drunken Master movies.
Right there.
Homework.
I've never seen them either, but nobody is surprised that I have not seen them.
Really?
I've never seen them.
The second one neither?
Nope.
Okay.
I've probably lied about it to you because of my shame.
Yeah, like Darren did with 500 Days of Summer.
That's right.
I fixed my shame.
You did.
So, Brad, you're next. All right, good pick, B. Lisa, you're number 1.
I don't know if this is the number 1 in my heart, but this is the last one I thought of. But it's one of my all-time, it's one of the most stressful bar scenes maybe ever in a film. And that is Christopher Lloyd as Judge Doom being the party killer in Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Oh, yeah.
Let's see how... Sorry, I scrolled away from my Wikipedia plot summary. And I forget everybody's name. Okay, so Eddie decides to hide Roger in a bar. His girlfriend Dolores, I guess, works there, and so he goes to hide Roger in the bar. And so Judge Doom goes through with the shave and a haircut, and Roger Rabbit, he just can't take it, and he has to burst out 2 bits. I think you've used this in a fistful, Brad.
No, I haven't.
Okay, good. Well, that's my number 1. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. All right.
It's a good one, though.
It's a good one.
Thank you.
All right, Brad, your number 1?
My number 1 has to go to a pair of individuals who overcome their barflyness. And that's Sean and Ed in Shaun of the Dead.
Oh, I thought you were going to go
Edgar
with
Wright.
Withnail and I.
No.
I was going to use that one, but I couldn't think of...
That would have been a good pick,
I can't remember
Lisa.
enough of that
movie. For me, I have to end this list with a couple of heroes and leave our fistful on an upbeat note rather than the terror of Jack Torrance. Here are a couple guys, they just want to have a good time. They want to play some video games, they want to chat about movies, listen to their Batman soundtrack, and head to the pub at night and eat some pig snacks, right?
Yeah.
And maybe, if they're lucky, have a cornetto as a hangover chaser in the morning. Of course, the zombie apocalypse occurs and has to reprioritize their life. And Sean discovers that he is willing to put all on the line to save his true love, Liz, and his buddy Ed, being the best friend that he is, will join him on this venture and will do whatever he can to help Sean achieve his relationship goals. And it's the sweetest thing ever. And, at the climax of that movie, just two boys in the shed mucking about on a PlayStation. It's really beautiful. Best friends.
Yeah. Good pick. All right. My number one, I give a free movie ticket to the first dork who can guess it in 5 seconds. 4.
What, Barfly?
3.
We're not going to get any clues?
That guy you just said from Drunken Master?
No. 1. All right, another 5 seconds. 4.
Wait.
Fury Road?
3. No.
Max?
2.
Nux?
Nope.
Martin
1.
Joe?
All right. And falling in line with your number one pick, to end on a high note, on a heroic note, my number one barfly comes from Richard Lester's Superman 3.
What? Oh!
Yeah, so Richard Pryor creates some synthetic kryptonite, and his missing ingredient, he replaces it with tobacco, or nicotine, I think it was, and he creates this synthetic kryptonite, and he gives it to Superman, and it turns Superman bad. And bad, trashy, bummy, barfly Superman in one scene is seen sitting at a bar, angrily flicking peanuts, like little bullets, towards the bottles on the shelf behind him. And it's a really, as a child, I remember that being a really disturbing depiction of my favorite superhero ever. And even thinking back on it now as an adult, so far removed from that film and my childhood, it's still, knowing what I know of Superman and that character and what he means to me. I mean, you talk about, people give Zack Snyder shit for how dour they make Superman. Now, you want to see Superman dour and down in the dumps, you go to Superman 3 and take your ass into that bar when he's sitting there flicking those peanuts with that 5, 6, and 7 o'clock shadow on. Superman is at rock bottom. So yeah, when Brad mentioned the Fistful of Barflies, that's the first one that came to mind. It has to be that sad, pitiful depiction of the Man of Steel at the bar, flicking peanuts.
To the delight of gifts everywhere.
Everywhere, yeah. So yeah, that's my number one. Hit us up on social media at ITMODcast. Let us know what your top 5 barflies. Could be alcoholics, drunks, drunkards, or patrons of patrons of a bar.
Should I have gone with Patrick Swayze as Dalton in Roadhouse?
I was waiting for Roadhouse to come up.
I know, but I was like, he doesn't count because he works there.
I was also thinking
always
about the Cowboys in the Blues Brothers flipping their beer bottles at Rawhide.
Yeah. So
what about the bartender at the bar in The Big Lebowski? He has a fucking name, Gary.
The dude,
or the dude in Sam
Elliott.
Sam Elliott's character.
The dude came very
bad at
close.
fistfuls. Mm-hmm. I've been really busy this week, guys. Listeners, get off my back.
I was also going to pick
good list, Lisa.
James Gandolfini's character from Killing Them Softly.
Oh, that's a good one.
He was a really, really pitiful drunken character who had fallen from grace. So there are a bunch of picks out there. We just gave you a couple of freebies, listeners. So yeah, hit us up on social medias and share your top 5.
Mahoney from Dick Tracy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Technically a nightclub, but she's always there.
So you can't use those. Those are Lisa's.
Yeah.
All right, Brian, tell the people they can find you.
Lips.
I'll do it for you at Brian Young, at the Turtle Dork, and at the Turtle Dork 1. Also, Brian William Young on Facebook.
Yeah.
Wife Dork is at Sidewalk Siren on Letterboxd and on Instagram and on Twitter. Brad Gullickson is Mouth Dork, at Mouth Dork on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Letterboxd, and Untapped.
I'm also often at Glass Half Full.
That's right. We were there just the other day, being flies ourselves. Fucking great old-fashioned.
Yep.
And I'm Darren Smith, the Disco Dork, at the Disco Dork on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Letterboxd, and maybe sometimes, possibly not, never, Snapchat. That's going to do it for us. Thank you all for listening. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. If it's playing near you, go see Colossal, and then thank us for it later.
Yeah, Lisa.
Oh, Wife Dork. That's going to do it for us. Enjoy your weekend, and until next time.
Drink responsibly, people.
Shots. Everybody!